Greetings, I am Tom Merle. Welcome back to this special series of the celebration called Gifts for You. If you haven't yet, I suggest you go back to the very first episode of this series. Not the entire podcast, just this series. That's the first episode that came out in 2022. It'll tell you all about what this series is about. If you don't feel like doing that though, don't worry, my friends. You can jump right in here and still have a great time. Now, just as a reminder, while this intro for this episode might sound very similar to last week's, have no worries. This week we bring you another fresh set of deep, insightful, and meaningful conversations. Today we're going to dive even deeper into this time capsule that we're opening by listening to another set of conversations that I recorded in 2019 just before my daughter was born. And so without further ado, I'll step aside and I hope you enjoy. All right, DJ Ace Vedo, what's going on?
It's a going. I'm out here enjoying nature.
Where
Nice place to be. Somewhere in Tampa. I just pulled over and saw it was water, and I was like, "Oh, it's just nice, little duckies and turtles everywhere." So I was like, "Might as well. Trees, can't go wrong with that."
So, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to baby by sharing your name and what your name means to you, or the story of your name.
All right. Well, hello, baby. My name is Ace Beetle. At least that's my stage name. It's my last name split in half. So my real name is Cassandra Acevedo. So I thought it was cool to have my last name split in half so I can kind of like show off my dad. So my dad's last name is Acevedo. So he's a very important figure in my life. So I wanted to like rep his name as my stage name.
That's awesome. I think repping your dad is a highly recommended thing, baby.
Yes. I put in a little plug for you.
So you mentioned your stage name. What is your stage, and how did you find your stage?
So I got into DJing because I really wanted to be a rapper. I realized I was extremely scared to be on stage. I was holding the mic like this. I was so nervous. Couldn't do it, but I really enjoy music and I love what music does for people. So one of my good friends, Mike Larry Draw, was like, why don't you just get into being in the background and DJing, something I always wanted to do. So I got into it and I love it. It's such a good way to express myself without expressing myself because I have a hard time talking and communications are always rough for me. So I kind of found a little outlet and it's been doing great ever since.
What's your advice for baby if there's something they want to do, but they feel fear around it, or it takes them really far outside their comfort zone? What would your advice be?
My advice would be start off slow. Give yourself time, allow yourself time. There's no rush to do anything. But also make sure you are pursuing the things that are fearful for you. For instance, I would have never been where I am today if I didn't cross that line and put myself out there to DJ. So DJing has been a blessing for me and also healing. Always go above and beyond, face your fears always, but at your pace. There's no rush and no one should tell you to do anything you're not comfortable doing, but take that time to make it there.
I love that. And, and maybe you might have some experience from, our past interviews that we've talked of, let's say you're in a space or an industry where people try to make it seem like you don't belong here, or this isn't for you, or you're not as good as us. What would your advice be for baby if they happen to find themselves in that situation?
I think it's important to listen to critiques from people, even if it's negative. It's very important to suck that in to it, because I know when I first started, I did not play well. And instead of allowing it to bring me down as an entertainer or as a person, I took those critiques in and I practiced more. And I learned more about the craft, and I went more into DJing and understanding techniques and teaching myself how to, because it's very hard for me to build relationships with other people, especially when I have an embarrassment of feeling like I'm not good enough. So I just took the time on my own time, practice, worked harder, and got better to the point where people contact me for help. So, and I always remember where I came from, and I make sure that I feel honored where I'm at. I feel there's a privilege to where I am in the DJ community. Make time for nature. That's another another advice to give you. Nature is home, so always make time for that. But always take those critiques in, but don't allow it to define who you are. I think that's the best advice I can give for that.
And so then on that note, how do you define yourself? How do you create space for yourself? How do you name who you are and those kind of things?
It's easy to let outside influence, especially when you don't believe in yourself, change your mindset of who you. I know that I'm hardworking. So if someone is saying like, oh, you don't really perform well, this is not for you, maybe you should do something else. But this is something I have passion for. It's easy to allow an outside influence get to me if I don't know who I am and what I want to do. And it takes time to like really sit there and figure that out.
What would you like to share with baby just from your heart unprompted? Is there anything you want to share?
Be kind to the earth. The earth is home. It's where we all grow. It's where we share space with other living beings. So it's important to be kind to the earth, kind to yourself. Your body is home. So always make sure home is aligned. So giving yourself time to be you, to be who you are, and allowing yourself space to fail. It's okay. When you have rough moments in life, those rough moments is what we need to grow as a person, as a being, and allowing yourself space to feel that. And it's okay to have moments of lowness. It's okay to have moments of high, but appreciating all those, because all of those moments are blessings. And we just need to take the time to view it as such.
I love that. I love that. What can baby turn to you for? What conversations? What do they need? What can they turn to you for?
If you need help with facing fears, I think I could be a good person, because I am so fearful in public places. Even to this day, like if I go into DJ and it's a huge crowd, uh, the nerves that happen in my body is ridiculous. Like I tense up, I get major anxiety before shows. So I really have to take time to like meditate before, so that I don't not overly nervous because sometimes I get so nervous I get really shaky, and that could mess me up DJing. So I really need to take time to get in there. So if you need help with a moment that you're having, feel free to hit me up, because I could definitely help you with that.
I love that. So what would you like to invite baby to do, to think about, to become? What is your invitation?
Okay, so I didn't know what I wanted to do until late in life. So I had to have been in my late 20s when I figured out, music is something I really wanted to pursue. And that's okay. So if it takes time to figure out what you want to do, or figure out any of those things, no matter when you start, whether it's early, really late, it's all okay. But in order to figure that out, you have to face your fears to get past certain things. And it's good to try new things as well as keeping an open mind. So keeping an open mind is very important. Very important.
Well, DJ Ace, thank you so much for being a part of this, for being a part of my child's life. I can't wait for y'all to meet each other, listen to some music, hang out. I can't wait. So thank you so much.
Little baby, I thank you so much for allowing me space in your life to watch this video. I'm so gracious that you are watching it right now. And your dad is an awesome man. Oh, so what a blessing for you two to be in each other's lives. It's just, I can't wait to see the things that you guys do together and the moments you share together. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for that affirmation. I really appreciate that. And I'm glad we've stayed connected after all these years, you know?
Yes, 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 we
So
have.
we'll see each other on your world tour, right?
Oh yes, hopefully you're watching this video and I'm touring somewhere.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Peace and blessings.
Bye.
Well, Dermot, thank you so much for being a part of this. It really means the world to me. Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, definitely. So the way we'd like you to start is if you could introduce yourself to baby by sharing your name and what your name means to you or the story of your name.
Hi, baby. Hopefully we'll know your name soon. My name is Dermot Damian Gibbons. And an interesting story about my name is it's extremely unusual. And I've only actually met one other person with this name, and I just met them maybe 1 month ago. It's an Irish name. Both names, Dermot and Damien, are Irish. And the pronunciation in Irish is Dermot. So when people see it, they say, Dermot. And I go, nope, that's not my name, because I'm obviously not Irish. Well, I could be, I guess. But but my mother was Catholic. Both my parents were Catholic. And so when they were getting married, they named me after a priest who was Irish. And I don't know who the priest was or what. It could have been the priest that married them. I don't know. I never got the story, but all my life I've been called, and I pronounce it Dermot. Now that I'm in California, my family calls me Demont. Demont. My brother, they call me Demont. That's when I was growing up. That's what people say, Demont, Demont, Demont. I had a grandfather who always called me Lamont for all of his life. So I never get to correct people, whatever they call me, except certain people I'll correct them and say, no, it's Dermot. And I make them pronounce it. But I'm not caught up in how people pronounce it or whatever. And that's kind of the story of my weird, unusual name. But I also have, my middle name is Damien with an A. And when you get older, you may know there's a famous movie of Damien with an E, who is the devil child. And people think that, you know, when you say Damien, ooh, wow. But my son, who is now 19 years old, and you'll get to meet, hopefully, his name, first name is Damien with an A. So that's Dermot Damien. Oh, interesting. Givens. Last, your father is dying because I'm probably talking too much right now. Just one question. But I want to tell you all this because when you see it, it might make sense. You might go, oh, who's that crazy guy? I don't want to hear all this story. So, but our last name is Givens, and the story behind that is my grandfather, Givens, was half white, half black. And back then it was very bad to be mixed race in the United States. So he changed his name from McGowan, which was the family, his father's name, to Givens for some reason. And he was an only child. When he married my grandmother, she became Mrs. Givens. They had one child who was my father, who was Howard Givens. Then my grandparents got divorced and my grandmother got remarried and she became a Jackson. And my grandfather died when I think was like 2 or 3 years old. And so we never had, so the only Givens in our family was my father, my mother, I have an older brother, and myself. So we were the only 4 people in the world who were related with our name being Givens. So when people say, oh, we know Givens, not related to him. Well, you don't even know who I'm asking about. I don't care. Don't know him. Not related to us. But now my brother has sons and I have a son. So the Givens, our family name is growing, but that's the history of Dermot Damien Givens.
And
Sorry, Mom.
no, I'm not mad at all. I love storytelling, so I love getting to hear that you know that. That's wonderful. So, what would you like to share? We can just start off right off. Is there anything from your heart that you want to share with baby that you'd like to speak to?
Okay, baby, you will know how special you are because you have two very, very special parents. And you will just know this once you get here. You'll know. That's all I want to say.
I like that. That's a good place to start. And thanks for coming. So you're also a lawyer.
Yes.
And you do a particular kind of law where you're helping people out, unless that's since changed.
Yes.
There's so many ways you can do law where you don't necessarily help people out, but you get tons and tons of money. But you've chosen to serve. What inspired you to, with all the opportunities you have, to serve, to lead with service?
Well, I mentioned my grandmother, my father's mother, whose name was Arkansas Braswell Givens Jackson. She lived to be 100 years old and died maybe 4 years ago and was my best friend and the wisest person I ever knew. And she was always helping people. She was the oldest of her family and helped everybody and was a leader in the community and a leader in the city. We grew up in Detroit, Michigan. And she was extremely involved in the civil rights movement, which at a certain point in your life you'll hear about or study about. And you'll hear about Martin Luther King and the March on Washington, which happened in 1963. My grandmother was actually at the March on Washington in 1963. So that's how involved she was. You'll hear people know, oh, we read about it, whatever, but she actually went there and was, when you see the crowd, she was out in the crowd. She traveled there to be there. And she always told us, you have to get involved. You have to help people. You have to be present. And that was her thing. Because I remember we gave her a big, massive 100th birthday party, and I was the keynote speaker. And one of the things that I reminded the family of was, and they called her Aunt KC and all different names from different relatives, but she was my grandmother, Grandma Jackson. Wherever we were, no matter what we did, she would show up. And that's within the family. If you went to school, if you moved away, she would always go, and she'd have her words where she'd go check on people. And no matter where I was, no matter where, she would always come and check. She'd physically come and check on me. And that was her part of, what do you need? What do you need? What can I help you with? But she'd be physically present to check on people. And I got that service from her. And my parents followed in her footsteps, and our family with the name Givens, we're givers. So we give, and what can we, if I do something, I want to know, how can I help make it better? If I join an organization, how can I help make it better? If I see people, how can I help make it better? So that's kind of been ingrained in us in our life from Grandma Jackson, is how can I help you make it better? So that's kind of where the service comes from. But we got to get money too, because you got to pay them.
As babies growing up, they're going to learn about different types of superheroes and superhero squad, and you're a part of a superhero squad called the Black Lives Matter Justice League.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about that? Anything about Black Lives Matter Justice League that you'd like to share about the superhero stuff that you do?
No. but I do want to say something else that involves Black Lives Matter. Because what
Let's
I
do
do,
it.
I mean, you're not even, baby, you're not even here yet. So I'm talking to you, you're not here yet. So in your lifetime, hopefully things will get so much more better. And you'll look back at us old people and you say, my God, how could they have lived like that? What was going on with the world? Because you can't even imagine people treating people like that. So in Black Lives Matter, the reason there's a Black Lives Matter is because people now treat people differently based on how they look, where they're from, and it's called, whether it's racism or sexism or whatever. And our culture is evolving, but it has not evolved to the point where we treat everyone with kindness and equally, like your parents treat people, how I try to treat people, how you will treat people with kindness and love. But a lot of times that doesn't happen. So there's a group called Black Lives Matter, which is, it says that Black lives, like I'm Black, our lives matter because certain government institutions like the police, they don't treat Black people with kindness and justice. And so there has to be a movement of people to force them to do that. So like I say, hopefully all this will be done and over with by the time you read, you see this, and you'll say, my God, why wouldn't they treat people nice or treat people equally? But right now they don't. So we force them, the Black Lives Matter as an organization, to bring the issue out front and hopefully force some changes so you will have a better life.
I appreciate you sharing, answering the question even better than I asked it. So I appreciate that.
No, I just answered a different question.
So let's say baby's listening and we are in this better place where none of that exists. And they're wondering with this world that you're describing, how do you maintain that love and pride in who you are throughout your life and where you come from? How did you, Uncle Dermot, maintain and cultivate that? What would you share with them?
Okay, well, I'm not going to cry, but that's a very emotional question. But the answer is because of people like your mom and your dad and the other people who love you. They give me the same support. And that's how I'm able to maintain and keep going forward. It's a whole, like, what's the African proverb? It takes a village. So there's a whole village around me, and there'll be a whole village around you. And that's how you do it.
I appreciate that. What can baby turn to you for?
Anything.
I like that.
Baby needs a new pair of shoes.
Is there any, in addition to anything in a new pair of shoes, is there anything that you think if this might come up, I feel particularly able to answer, to step in, or to listen? Anything like that?
That's I hate that question. My answer is still the same. Anything.
I love this. We both ask questions for a living, so I like this back and forth.
Baby. Anything.
Anything. And what would you like to invite baby to think about, to consider, to do, to practice? What would you like to invite them? What's your invitation?
Well, today is February 13th, 2020. And I understand that you're due here on this earth as a living, breathing person on February 26th. Is that not correct? at the point that you're able to look back on this and get some understanding of where we are today, there's a very important and controversial, because all important people are controversial, person by the name of Kobe Bryant, who died, and maybe you'll look that up and see about the life of Kobe Bryant, Bryant. And my son was close to Kobe Bryant. And my son, again, I'm going to try not to get emotional. My son, our parent, his other father died tragically, kind of like Kobe Bryant. And my son was close to Kobe Bryant and knew Kobe Bryant. So when this happened, my son went into shock. And I asked my son this question. I said, what would Kobe tell you if you were here? And Kobe, again, he's controversial. You'll see some controversial stuff about him. He wasn't a perfect person. And I said, and you don't have to listen to the television of what people are telling you that Kobe said. What did Kobe tell you? And he said, Kobe said, when things get tough, you just keep working hard. You just work through it. And that's the advice. Like right now, we're going through that with Kobe and my son, because they haven't had the public ceremony that he will go to. So that's the advice I would give you. Is life is a lot of fun, but it gets hard sometimes. And when it gets hard, you have your parents, you have me, you have a whole village of people to turn to, but you have to work through it and keep working hard, and then the fun will come. So I don't know if that answers the question or not.
That was, I'm really feeling so much gratitude because it was personal and you were able to share that with us. So that really means a lot, Dermot. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I can't wait for us all to hang out, have a meal together, for y'all to meet.
Vegetarian.
What'd you say?
Vegetarian.
There we go. So thank you for this, Dermot. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, I'm honored to do it. Very honored. Hi, baby.
Oh. I hope you enjoyed the conversations that I'm sharing with you this week. And I hope you return again next week to continue the series, Gifts for You, and continue to receive the insights, the messages, and if I can use the word again, the gifts that each conversation is ready to share with you. My friends, I thank you for being here with us this week, and I look forward to you returning again next week for the next edition of Gifts for You. As always, I'm wishing you peace and blessings. See you next week. Thank you. One more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.